put your hands together. Give a big Lighthouse Youth welcome. All right. Thanks for being here today, everybody. Everybody's looking good. First of all, I want to tell you guys that at the end of this, I am going to answer whatever questions you guys have, and I don't care if it's about UFC fighting, if it's about fire department, my kids, bullying, whatever. So if you have any questions, think about it, keep them in your head. I'll give you a chance to ask them when we're done. Okay? Well, okay, we're going to talk about a couple things here. First of all, I'm going to speak about bullying. Does anybody know what bullying is? Let me have an example. Okay, what do you think we got? Yeah, you. That's very good. Everybody hear that? What else? Anybody else? Okay, that's good though. Intimidating somebody, being mean to somebody, like he's saying. Now the funny thing is, a lot of people, they obviously know me from fighting. They've seen me fight on TV, they've seen me fight on pay-per-view, they play the video games or whatever. You know, they might not know I am a firefighter, been doing that for the past almost 14 years. Most people don't know I have 4 kids and I'm a father. That's one of the main reasons I decided to fight, was so my wife wouldn't have to work, I could earn extra money. But it's funny, they watch a lot of these fights, these highlights, they see a lot of these things, and that's what they think of me. They think that, what does this guy know about not bullying people? He probably is the bully. They think maybe I'm the guy who goes and intimidates people, says mean things to people, tries to get them to do things that I want them to do. That's what they think, and I understand that. That makes sense. They see that, and that's all they know about me. But they don't know really much about my life. They don't know about my kids. They don't know about me being on the fire department. They don't know about the fact when I was a kid, I was probably the smallest kid in my class. And that's funny because when I was do you got anybody here at wrestling? Does anybody do high school wrestling? Okay, no. When I was in wrestling, my freshman year, I wrestled 103. That means I weighed 103 pounds. I was the smallest kid on the team. I was in the lightest weight class, so I wasn't a big guy. In addition to that, where I lived, there wasn't a lot of kids. I lived on a dead-end street. There wasn't a bunch of other kids to play with, so the only people I could play with were older than me. And I would do that, I would go and play, and people were like 3, 4 years older than me. So when I was in 3rd grade, all the people I played with were in 6th grade. So a lot of those kids were probably bad influences on me, and they were definitely a lot bigger than me. They were a lot stronger than me. And when we would play, what we would do is we didn't play inside a lot. There wasn't a lot of video games to play. We didn't have much of that when I was a kid, so we played sports all the time. We played football, we played whatever. So I would do well in sports. These guys didn't like it. And there would be nothing for them to think about punching me when I would do good, or hitting me, or pushing me down, or making fun of me, trying to talk bad about me. I mean, this was a constant thing. They were always beating up on me. I was always getting beat up as a kid because I hung out with all the older kids. What that did for me was, it made me always want to play with them because there was nobody else to play with. So I continued to go back. I continued to want to be the first one to play football and do whatever. So after a while, these guys they kind of respected me. They said, hey, this guy's a little kid, and he runs his mouth too much, but he's a good kid, and he can play and stuff. So it was really nice after that, and what always amazed me was I'd be there and I'd be playing, and some new kid would come over who was friends with these kids in the 6th or 7th grade, and when he would start to try and bully me, or he would try to start picking on me, my friends now, these older kids, they would stand up for me. And I always thought, man, I couldn't figure it out. I was like, man, I'm this little kid, I'm a 3rd grader. And these older kids are standing up for me against their kids in their own grade. Why would they do that? I mean, I didn't understand. I was thinking, would I stand up for another kid? I don't know. But these guys are going against their own friends, making sure that nobody hurt me. And that meant a lot to me. It gave me a lot of confidence. It made me think that I was good at things. I was worth something. I had a lot of value. That these kids would do something to stand up for me. So that made an impression to me as a kid. Then I grew up a little bit. Went to high school. Like I said, I was in the wrestling team. I wrestled in the littlest weight class, 103. I kept working out, kept getting stronger, kept getting bigger. One of my best friends on the team, it was funny, he was the president of our class. And I went to Southwell High School. We were a pretty big school. We had about 400 people in our class. and he was the president. So obviously everybody liked my friend. He was very popular. And what was amazing to me about this guy is we could go anywhere. We would go into the computer lab. We would go into the metal shop. We could go anywhere in the school, and everybody liked this guy. And he liked everybody. That's very weird. You know, usually you go to school, there's this group and they hang out with each other. And you got the football players that hang out with each other. The computer people hang out with each other or whatever. So it was a different group. But he was friends with everybody. And I was like, how did they do this? It was because he didn't care about little things. Like he didn't care what kind of shoes you had. He didn't care what kind of clothes you had. He didn't care how much money you had or how much money your parents had. He just cared about how you treated him. And I always thought that was something that I learned from him, is that's the kind of person I want to be like. I want to be somebody who can be liked by everybody as long as you treat him good and they treat you good. So, you know, I kind of developed these habits when I was young. I learned about, you know, I want to be the kind of person who stood up for other people from, I understand what that was like. You know, a lot of people when they get bullied or they get picked on, they can't wait till they can do it to somebody else. That wasn't me, man. I felt like I knew how bad that made me feel. And I remember the way that I looked up to the guys who stood up for me. So I wanted to be like that. And I remember the guys who looked at people with respect and treated them the right way, and I wanted to be like that. So it's funny to me, you look at, when you get older, you think that, you know, everybody's just going to be nice at work and everything's going to be great, but that's not necessarily the case. There's still people who might be considered bullies at work when they're an adult. I can think of times when I've been on the fire department, and there'll be a new guy, and he might show up to the firehouse that day, doesn't know what to do, very new. And one of the older guys might come up to him and say, okay, you're going to clean the engine, you're going to do the floors, starts giving them all the work to do. So I've always felt it was my responsibility as a person, it was my duty to come up and not let that happen. I said, no. You're not going to have him do your work. You're going to do your work and you're going to let him do his work. Tell him what his job is. That's my job. I'm supposed to, you know, protect people who don't know how to protect themselves at the time. Same thing happened in the UFC. I know many times when the people first show up there, they don't know what to do. They're very nervous. They're afraid they're going to make a mistake. The UFC is not going to like them. The UFC is going to kick them out. And a lot of people like that. A lot of people don't want people to be successful there because that's competition. This guy might be a good fighter. I don't want him to do good. So they're going to try and intimidate the guy, make him feel bad, tell him the wrong thing, laugh at him, make him feel really bad so he doesn't perform well. Not for me. I was always trying to go over there and help the guy. Look, this is where you need to be at this time. You better be early. You better act. You know, try to help these guys out because, you know, that's what I've learned. That's the type of person I want to be. So now, how that relates to me kind of decide to deal with anti-bullying is a whole different matter. I know we talked a few minutes ago, or somebody talked about the fact that I have 4 kids, and I have a 19-year-old son, a 13-year-old daughter, a 17-year-old daughter, and an 11-year-old son. Now, my 11-year-old son, he has something that's called autism. Has anybody heard of autism before? All right, so you guys know what that is. Does anybody know anybody who has autism? Okay. Can you tell me how do they act? Do they act like everybody else? They act a little different. They act a little different, don't they? I mean, I know my son acts a little different. So the kind of thing that got me involved with this was I've always worried about him being treated differently. I've always worried about him being picked on. I've always worried about him being made to feel worse and made him feel sad, made him feel depressed because of something he can't help. There's nothing he can do about that. There's people with autism aren't trying to act like that. They just can't help it. So I think a lot about, it's not just kids with autism like that. It could be anything. Somebody might make fun of somebody because of the way their hair is, the way their hair looks, or they have freckles on their face, or there's a ton of different things that people can make fun of people for. They can't control it. Now, I don't know if you guys, at school, have you guys learned about a kid named Ryan White? Has anybody done anything in any class about Ryan White? Okay, who is Ryan White? That's right, he was I don't know if he was the first one, he was a kid from Indiana, actually. He became nationally famous because he got HIV. Everybody made fun of him at school. They didn't want him to be there. I mean, this kid was just a normal kid. He had hemophilia where you bleed real bad a lot and your blood doesn't clot. So he had to get a blood transfusion. And when he did that once, he caught HIV. So this kid had HIV and everybody would make fun of him. If he came and sit down at this table, everybody would leave. Nobody wanted to sit next to him. I always thought, man, this kid can't help that. There's nothing he can do to to control that, the fact that he has HIV. He didn't do anything wrong, yet everybody's making him feel terrible, making him feel bad about himself. It'd be like, it's like if you had certain color hair, whatever, you can't control these certain things. So I just never understood. The older I get, the more I understand why it's just not right to treat people that way. And there's things that you can do right now. It's going to affect people for the rest of their lives. Things that you do right now. So I wish I could come here. I wish I could talk to you guys about the things I'm talking to you about, and you guys would just, oh, I get it. I get it. Nobody's going to be mean to anybody anymore. But I don't think that's the way it's going to be. I mean, last year alone, I believe in the state of Indiana there were 9,396 cases of reported bullying. And that equals to about 52 a day. That's a lot of people being bullied. And that's only the ones that people are reporting. There's probably 10 times that many that aren't being reported. So I know this is going to happen. I want to try and deal with what do we do if it does happen. So the first thing I'm always trying to tell people they need to do if there's something like this is happening, if you call it bullying, you're going to be picked on, whatever. First thing I want people to do is learn how to stand up for themselves. Now, by stand up for yourself, I don't necessarily mean you have to start punching people. There's different ways you can stand up. I've seen kids who are twice somebody's size and just a big guy, and he just sit there and they just keep saying something. He would just take it the whole time. I kept trying to tell him there's nothing wrong with you fighting back, not necessarily physically, just standing up for yourself. Now, when I was a kid, I was talking about, all these kids used to beat up on me. I couldn't win those fights, I knew it. But what did I do? I kept coming back, and I kept coming back every day. And eventually, they got to respect the way that I was trying to just continue to fight back and be tough. So that was one thing I did. That might not be the best thing all the time, because if somebody's physically trying to hurt you every day, I don't want you to keep coming back and back and back and saying, well, Chris told me to keep coming back. So another thing you might have to do is you might have to tell somebody sometimes. It might be a parent, it might be a teacher. You might decide you don't want to tell a teacher, you don't want to feel like it's out there or whatever. I don't know. So there's nothing wrong with telling a group of your friends, hey, every time I get done with this class, this one guy's right here, he's bothering me, stay with me. There's nothing wrong with that either. So, but the thing that I really wanted to get you guys to follow up on, the one thing I want you guys to listen to me about, the thing I want you to do, it's going to make you guys happier, is I want you guys to start standing up for each other. And what I mean by that, I mean if this guy is picking on him, I want you to come by and help this out and stop this guy from bullying him and stop him from picking on him. And the reason I want you guys to do this is because I want you to feel good about yourselves. I mean, if you saw the fight tape right here, I've been fighting in the UFC for a long time. I remember when I fought here in Indianapolis, there was probably 15 or 16,000 people here. It was cool, man. Everybody here was for me to win. They would chant my name. I don't know if you ever had that many people in a ring in a stadium chanting your name. It was pretty cool. And it made me feel really good when I won that fight. But I don't think it feels as good as when I've been on the fire department. And I'll be at my firehouse and somebody will come back to there and they'll knock on the door and be like, hey, my son fell in a pool and he was drowning, and you guys showed up and saved his life, and they will cry and they will thank me for being the hero. I mean, nothing is going to make me feel as good as that. So I'm telling you guys, if you are standing up for somebody, like the people who stood up for me, I still look at those guys as heroes. I still look at them as just, I don't understand why somebody would do that for me. And I guys can all feel that. I mean, I look at it like this. When I was a little kid, when those people stood up for me, it made me feel good. It made me feel like I could do anything. It made me feel like I could be a good athlete, which I did. I was able to become a professional athlete. Maybe it was because, I had that confidence to do that. Maybe if they hadn't stood up for me, maybe I wouldn't have felt like that. I don't know. I do know that, a lot of your actions right now to your fellow classmates could determine how their life goes. Has anybody here ever heard of a guy named Ted Kaczynski? I'm sure you have. Maybe you know his name as the Unabomber. You ever heard of that? No, the Unabomber. Okay, the Unabomber. They found out his name was Ted Kaczynski. This was a guy who was a genius. He had an IQ of 167. Really smart, so they moved him up in his grade. He was supposed to be like in 5th grade. They moved him up to 7th. They moved him up eventually to 9th grade. Well, this guy was a young guy, didn't fit in with the other kids. He was younger, smarter, didn't know how to behave. So people were mean to him. People picked on him. It said, I read stuff about it. He was bullied constantly. Always felt bad. He didn't know how to deal with people. They were mean to him. But this guy was a genius. So he went to MIT, one of the toughest schools in the country. Graduated, real smart. But okay, you have a guy like this. What can he do? He could go, make inventions. He could make a way that maybe he could improve on our energy sources or make the medical devices that could have saved lives. But what did this guy do? He bought a cabin in the middle of the woods, and he made bombs, and he sent them to people that opened up the package and blow them up and kill people. They couldn't find him for years. They didn't know who he was. Finally, they found this guy. And I'm like, why did he do that? Why did he become like that? Well, his whole life he was made to feel bad about who he was. People didn't treat him well, so he didn't like people. Now I look at that. I mean, could that have been me? Maybe if everybody picked on me, maybe nobody was there to make me feel good. Maybe I wouldn't feel like helping people out. Maybe I'd want to hurt people as well. I mean, maybe I'd be in the woods trying to build bombs, but I don't have the IQ. Maybe I'd blow myself up on accident. I don't know. But regardless, the point is, you guys can do the right thing, and you can stand up for people. Maybe they can do great things in it. Maybe there's somebody here who can figure out a way to cure cancer or some good things. Or maybe there's somebody, the exact same kid who goes the opposite direction and do bad things based on what happens here. So, just want you guys to know that I feel better about myself than anything I've done, any fighting thing, or when I can do something to stand up for people or to help people. I want all you guys to get to experience that joy and to make yourselves feel better. I mean, who here doesn't want to feel better? I guarantee everybody wants to feel better about themselves. So I'm gonna issue this challenge to everybody that, for the next, at least throughout this month. This is National Anti-Bullying Month. So anytime you see somebody getting treated the wrong way, anytime you see somebody getting treated poorly or anything, and you see something like that, I think it's your job right now to go in there and to stand up for that guy. Guarantee if you do that, you'll feel good about yourself. The way that person will look up to you and admire you is a good feeling. So I just want everybody to experience that joy at least a couple times, and I think you'll get addicted to it and want to keep doing that. So I appreciate you guys listening to what I had to say with this. I want to open this up and I want to answer any questions you guys want about whatever subject you have. So who's got a question?